Hello, thank you so much for joining me today. I am so very excited to have you here. Obviously, Valentine's Day has come and gone. I'm a little bit far behind from Bookmas. I had such a difficult time getting out of a post-Bookmas slump. I think I really got burnt out from that. But here we are back, we're better than ever, and we're going to be reading romance books for the week. I'm gonna be really honest with you. I have not been enjoying romance books recently. Not that I don't like them, but I think that for my taste, I'm very picky with romance and I don't really know exactly what I like. Every now and then I will be craving like a Wattpad-esque book, and I really don't want anything super spicy, but sometimes with spicy books, you get that yearning that I'm looking for, you get the type of romance book that I'm wanting, and then I can just skip the spice and it kind of evens out. But recently I feel like I've been reading more heavy-hitting romance books, and that's not necessarily something that I'm super in the mood for. I have to be in a very good mood, a very particular mood to read those and enjoy them. So that being said, we are going full romance this week. I'll probably only read like 3, maybe 4 books pushing it if I really am enjoying them, but I have not been reading romance books recently to my knowledge. I might have had one sprinkled in here and there, but I really have just been enjoying thriller and horror books here recently, so definitely not in the lovey smoochy mood. But to get myself in that mood, we are going to be starting with Betting on You by Miss Lynn Painter. I love me a good Lynn Painter YA romance. These, for whatever reason, hit almost every single time. We're getting into this one. I'm excited. I think a little sweet Lynn Painter book is just the thing that I'm gonna need to get myself in the mood. So I'm betting on liking this one. Hopefully. I better like it. It's gonna be really disappointing if I don't. So here we go with Miss Lynn Painter's Betting on You. Look at how cute the little paintings. I feel like I never really see many paintings, drawings, whatever in books. But it's really sweet. I'm excited to get into this one. Just know right now. I just finished Betting on You and I actually really enjoyed this one. We were following Bailey and Charlie. They met on a plane ride from, I believe, Alaska to Nebraska. They kind of bond over being divorced kids, and the whole time on the plane ride, they're just grating on each other's nerves. They don't like each other. Over the course of a couple years, they run into each other a few times, and then they end up working together where they become co-workers. And they come up with this ploy to fake date to try to get Bailey's mom and her boyfriend to split up because she doesn't like the new dynamics that the boyfriend is bringing to the family. Her mom is recently divorced. This is her first boyfriend, and she's not really loving the idea of her mom having a new boyfriend and kind of breaking up what they already have going on at the house. I thought it was good. Don't get me wrong. I will say, and I feel like I might have talked about this, I don't really know, but I think as I have started reading more and more books, I think I have lost my interest in a lot of YA books. Don't get me wrong, Lynn Painter does a good YA romance. I love the YA romance. I think for me, I really enjoyed the buildup of a romance. So for a lot of YA, we are focusing on the buildup. We're focusing on the ways that they're acting towards each other, the cute things that they're doing, the, you know, being really cute boyfriend, all that type of stuff. But it's obviously not like spicy at all. There's a couple like makeout scenes and stuff, but that's the extent of it. We're not reading it for the spice, and because there's not spice in it, they're not getting at this super early. So I feel like these, for me, they have a lot more of a slow burn, a longer build up. And that's typically what I like about them more than just regular run-of-the-mill romance books, because a lot of times I feel like people are reading them for the spice aspect. There usually are at least like 3 scenes from what I've noticed in books, and in order to spread them out, they usually happen a lot earlier on in the book, so we're not really getting as much slow burn as I really like. So that's what I do enjoy about these books, not necessarily the younger characters in the books. I think that for me, what I have noticed is that they have a lot of immature qualities to them that I'm not a fan of. I don't really like parts of the plot that feel young. I don't like the inability to just communicate things. They come up with these ridiculous plans to avoid having to talk about something that would just be so much easier to just talk about than actually going through all of this stuff. I get it. It's a book. I'm very well aware of that. The only thing for me is I think I like books to be realistic. Not even just books, I like everything in general to be realistic. Movies, when there's an unrealistic plot point happening or an unrealistic thing that happens, it just gets on my nerves and it really makes me hyper focus on that for whatever reason. So with this type of stuff, it doesn't feel realistic. What they're doing doesn't necessarily feel realistic. Therefore, for me, I'm kind of pulled out of the story and I'm more focused on how that doesn't make any sense, how that is just a totally stupid idea for them to do. They don't need to be doing that at all. They can just fix all this with one simple conversation, and that never happens. And I think that's frustrating. So for me, because of that, I have not really been drawn to a bunch of YA books as of recently, and I know that I have talked about that before. I know that I talked about in the last Good Girl's Guide to Murder book, it just felt really YA, the characters felt kind of immature, and I didn't necessarily love that. So I think that while I do enjoy these, and especially the more like YA romance books, I think that they're not something that I'm going to be leaning towards more heavily. I guess like another example would be like K.L. Walther. I think her books read a lot younger, and for me, I just don't love that anymore, especially now that I've read other books that I like and enjoy more. So I'll quit talking about that. I just wanted to get that off my chest, but I did really enjoy this one. I thought it was really cute, minus those few bits and pieces that just felt so unbelievably unrealistic to me and just didn't feel like they would hold up in the real world. I didn't really care for that, and I think for that it pulled me out a little bit. So I would give this one overall about a 4-star. Still really enjoyed it. I thought that their romance was sweet. I thought that the acts that they were doing for each other were cute. The remembering things, whatever. Come on, just the simple stuff that everybody wants. Everybody wants out of their relationship. They were doing that. I really liked that. But again, just a couple things that I just was like, that's so dumb. Just talk about it and it would be fine. But no, we don't talk about it because we have to have a third act breakup. And I don't really particularly care about those. Check this one off the to-do list. So we got this one done. And next, I have to get it. I was spine training it a little bit, but next we are reading Love and Other Words. This book has been on my TBR forever now. I feel like I've had this at least a couple years. We got it all nice and, and floppy now, but I have not read this. I've had this on many TBRs, and I needed to get through this. So I put this on my winter TBR. Now we are reading romance books for the week, and I feel like this is a perfect opportunity to go ahead and get this one knocked out. I did recently read The Paradise Problem, something like that, and I did enjoy that one. I've read one other book by these authors, and I did not care for it that much. The other one was pretty good. It wasn't my favorite, and I did read that one super fast. If you saw, I made a video reading books fast as possible. That was the one that I chose to read. I liked the romance aspects of it, but I didn't really care necessarily about the book as a whole. Hopefully this one will change my mind. I have heard a lot of people say that this is their all-time favorite book, one of their comfort books, and they read it all the time, reread it all the time, and maybe that can be the case for me. I'm excited. I'm excited to finally accomplish reading this because this has been highly anticipated for such a long time to the point where it's no longer highly anticipated. So we'll see what I think of this one. I have officially finished Love and Other Words, and I will be so honest with this. I did not care for this one nearly as much as I thought I would. I thought with having other people say that this was one of their favorite books ever, best romance book, best second chance romance, all that type of stuff, I thought that this was going to be fantastic. I thought that I was going to eat it up and I was just going to be hooked on this for the rest of my life, but I wasn't. Like, not even nearly. I think for this book specifically, I didn't necessarily care for the two together at all. I think back in the day it was sweet. I think for me, I enjoy the YA romance in the sense of them growing together and finding like their first love, and it's really just sweet the way that they're hyper fixated on each other, they're willing to do anything for each other, put your needs aside for the person that you care about, all that type of stuff. And I think that's why I like the backstory a lot more than I liked the forefront story, like the present story. I still didn't really care for the backstory because they were very They very much talked about sex frequently. They talked about kind of odd conversations. Not odd, but you know what I'm saying, for them, and I feel like it was just a little bit heavy on that, which I didn't necessarily love. So not loving that with the backstory, and then also not super caring about the present story, which I'll be so honest, I really don't even remember much about the present story anyways, so not super fond about it. Overall, I don't think it was anything that I would recommend to anybody. I don't think it was bad necessarily, but I don't know, I went in this thinking this is gonna be the end-all be-all of romance, and I obviously took that with a grain of salt. I didn't think that I was going to think about it that highly, but I did expect to enjoy it a lot more than I did, so I'm a little bummed out by it. Moving on to my last book, I'm reading Most Eligible. I actually just got this in one of my Book of the Month picks, which we know I said that I wanted to try reading books as soon as they come out, and this one, I don't want to say came out recently, but I would assume if it's on Book of the Month that it came out relatively recently. I'm not sure about that, but I am absolutely devouring this one, loving this. This is actually making me want to go back and watch The Bachelor or The Bachelorette, whatever, even though that's not something that I ever watch. I think I've watched 2 seasons, and one was because we had a family friend that was going on it, and 2 because I was friends with other people that watched it and I was hanging out with them a lot of the time, so we had viewing parties, but that's like it. That's my extent of reality falling in love TV shows. Not ever something that I've dabbled in personally on my own time. This is very much making me think that that's something that I need to do, that I need to get into. And I think honestly having a book that makes me feel that passionately about something else that I want to get into is kind of insane. I think that the whole aspect of going on this reality TV show for the wrong reasons, fascinating. I think the idea of being infatuated with someone that's part of the show but not like on the show that you're supposed to be there for, I think that was an interesting concept, but I do think it would have been fascinating a little bit if we could have explored actually being into one of the characters. It makes me want to see a book written similarly to this, but you are actually going through and falling for all the characters. I think that could be fun, but I do understand why it wasn't. I think that the twist was kind of nice. It wasn't just like a carbon cut copy of the actual show or anything like that, so it made sense. I get it, not complaining about it whatsoever. I'm really enjoying this one so far. I have about 100-ish pages left, so this is what we've got rocking with. That's kind of why I can't remember any of this book, because I have gotten mostly the way through this one since reading this one, because I just wanted to get through it. I wanted to pick up something different, and I wanted a romance that was not going to leave me as unsatisfied as I was in this one. I think that so far this one's good. I see where the 3rd act breakup is coming. I'm not very excited for it because I know it's something that could just be handled with a conversation, but obviously I just don't think that's gonna happen. Because why would it? I'm gonna get finished with this one and then I will wrap up, let you know just my final quick thoughts if I have anything else to note on this one. We'll see what I think. We'll see if I go in and actually watch The Bachelor after this one. I sat here and grinded out the last 100 or so pages of Most Eligible, so I am officially finished with it. I really like this one. There's not much to say other than what I've already said before. I do think that I would have liked a little bit more out of it. I don't know what I would have liked more out of it. I think the whole relationship between the two like main characters, I think it felt really fast because in the beginning it was very insta-lovey for the characters, and then they were coming back together, meeting at a second point in life after their first initial insta-love. So they were still feeling that same insta-love from the beginning, and then just had like a few other interactions in this like 6-week period of them filming for, I can't remember what the show's actually called, but their version of The Bachelor. And I think because it was such a short time frame and we weren't necessarily seeing them together the entire time, it was showing her and her intentions behind being on the show, her befriending all of the other contestants that are on the show with her, her going out on dates with the actual main guy of the show, like the person that's there to find love. So in the midst of her doing all of that, she was then going hanging out with Rhett, but she wasn't necessarily like acting on it. She was, but she was like, hey, I can't really do this, it's just not in the cards for us. So I think for that it was all kind of like it felt really fast, it was really insta-lovey, all that type of stuff. And then it was like second chance, but still insta-love second chance, but then it was like, hey, we can't really do anything about this because I have stuff to do. And not like I'm insecure, but it was just like, I just can't do this. We already had our chance, we messed it up, it's just not gonna work out, we can never do this. And I think that type of stuff is really frustrating to me, because why not just give it a shot? He's obviously into you, you're obviously into him, like just talk about it for 5 seconds and then you'll figure out what the deal is for both of y'all. And then after that you can choose to either pursue the relationship or not. But I can't stand when in books they're like, we just can't do this, we can't, like, I've already been burned once, like I can't do it again, whatever. But like you don't actually talk and you don't actually figure out the reason why you were burned in the first place. So you don't actually know the full story, you don't care to know, you don't talk about it, nobody talks about it, and then it's just this weird limbo of we want to be together, we're so close, but then right before we kiss we're like, oh, I can't, you know. It's just, I don't like that. I think that's kind of obnoxious whenever books do that, and this one was kind of that. So I think that was a little bit annoying. Other than that though, was what it was. I really liked it. I thought it was pretty good. I did not rate Love in Other Words. I'd give this one a 3-star. And then this one, I don't really know what I want to say right now. I think that because it made me feel so deeply about wanting to watch the show, and it was kind of making me feel giddy, not necessarily for the actual relationship at hand. I didn't really care about that, but I think the idea of this Bachelor-esque type book, I really, really enjoyed that. So I think I'm gonna give this one a 4-star, subject to change on Goodreads. Not really sure yet, but I think 4 stars is pretty comfortable for it. I thought it was really good, and it was very easy to just binge. I wanted to keep reading it. It wasn't like any point that I was like, I don't want to read, I'm done, I'm over it. Kind of like with this one, I didn't really care to read it that much. But that is 3 romance books, physical romance books might I add, that I have gotten off of my TBR shelf. We started with Betting on You. I think that this book was so sweet. Again, we know how I feel about YA romances. I feel like sometimes they're just a little bit young, a little bit immature, they're unwilling to talk about things, and they do stupid things that are just gonna get them in serious trouble, or they're really gonna hurt people around them. And they think about it, but not enough to not do it. And that's annoying in itself, and I think that every YA book that I've read for the most part has something like that in it, or at least YA romance book, and I don't love that. It is what it is though, I expect it, and I just pretend like that's not happening and then focus on the romance at hand and how they're treating each other. So really enjoyed this one, thought this one was good. Obviously I said Love in Other Words was a little bit of a bust. I didn't really dislike this one, but it just was not great. And obviously we got this one finished, and I'm very proud to say that I finished 3 romance books, because I have not really been a very avid romance reader. I think that even with starting this channel, I think I started reading a lot more romance books because I thought that they were a little bit easier to get into, especially like the Colleen Hoover-esque type romance books, and especially those being like the first books getting back into reading, they're very easy and bingeable for me. But I think I have grown this taste of romance that's very difficult to pinpoint. A lot of them have the same characteristics and the story arcs that I just don't like in romance. So I think for me it's so hard to find something that I do genuinely enjoy and genuinely want to rate like a 5-star that I just don't really care to try to find them, especially like weeding out the spice and weeding out what I do and don't like. It's just a little bit difficult for me, a little bit something that I don't want to do. At least with a thriller, even if I'm not surprised by the ending at all, I'm usually not disappointed by guessing it or anything. So that's fine. I'm always on my toes, but with romance, I want a little bit more out of it. I'm a little bit more particular, and if I don't get what I want out of it, I don't necessarily love the book as a whole. I guess it's just I'm picky with them, and I don't want to just read subpar romance books personally, so that's kind of my thought on that. But I finished. We've got our 3 romance books read. I'm proud of myself. I think I did good. We got one of them off my winter TBR. That is very rapidly coming to a close. In March, we're coming up on needing a spring TBR. So I'm very eager to get another one knocked out and also get some of my romance knocked out because I feel like I haven't read a lot of romance here recently. But that's it. These are all the books that I read. Let me know if you have read any of these books and if you agree or disagree with my opinion. I feel like I was a little bit harsh on Love in Other Words, but it's just my opinion. That's how I feel. I'm sure someone out there thinks the same way that I think and agrees with me on that type of stuff. But as always, I greatly appreciate you for being here, and I hopefully will get to see you in the next one next week. See ya!